The whole point of this article is to point out the fact that Julian Assange is an outlier in this prison, that it houses murderers, rapists, and terrorists, and that, again, for someone like him to be locked up in here is purely psychological torture. Yeah, at risk from coronavirus, Julian Assange is one of just 2 inmates in Belmarsh maximum security prison held for skipping bail. And these are nonviolent offenders. These are people that literally, in Julian's case, had political asylum, had citizenship in the nation of Ecuador, and that got taken away for a $4 billion loan. If we can go down here to the second part, District Judge Barrister is overseen by Lady Emma Abernoth, the Westminster Chief Magistrate, who formally stepped aside on Assange's case after admitting a perception of bias. It is presumed that this relates to her husband's and son's link to military and intelligence establishments exposed by Assange and WikiLeaks. However, Judge Abernoth has refused to formally recuse herself from the case, meaning the defense cannot revisit her previous rulings in Assange's case. It is also likely that Abernoth was involved in appointing Barrister to oversee the case and is still responsible for supporting and guiding and liaisoning with her junior judge. Assange has always said he sought refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy in June 2012 to avoid extradition to the United States for his publishing activities. He was grabbed from the Ecuadorian asylum by British police in April 2019 and initially imprisoned for 50 weeks for violating the bail conditions. That ruling, which was close to the maximum sentence for the offense for 12 months, appeared to be irregular. By contrast, British man Jack Shepherd, who in 2015 killed a woman on a speedboat crash on River Thames and was charged with manslaughter, was given a 6-month sentence for skipping bail, half that awarded to Julian Assange. Shepherd fled the country to a former Soviet Republic of Georgia for 10 months before he turned himself in and returned to the UK. So even a man that commits manslaughter gets treated better than a man that exposed the history of war crimes against Iraq and Afghanistan, against the man that exposed the torture programs of our government that are still ongoing to this day in Guantanamo Bay. And there's just so much wrong with the fact that even the judge overseeing this case is reading prepared statements in the bail hearing that basically said, like, no, we pretty much knew what you were going to say, and the decision's already been made. So there's not much in the UK that you're allowed to do right now. You can get out 1 time a day. That's what they're permitting the public. And it really just harkens back to the fact that Julian Assange was one of the people trying to stop this from happening to the world. That the atrocities that they committed against him, keeping him isolated, keeping him in solitary confinement for, at this point, almost a decade, is now literally being brought down upon the rest of the United Kingdom and the rest of the world at this point.
Yeah, it's Beth B in the chat. Beth was one of our crew in DC. Noted that here, let me go ahead and just read it. It's not even skipping bail at this point. The sentence was served and he should have been free at that time. He's only still there because the U.S. wants him held there. Yeah, he's a remand prisoner. He's just waiting to go to court and potentially be extradited to the U.S., which is a death sentence, no matter how you look at it. Not only was his time served, the warrant that they issued him, they issued it a week or 10 days after he had already sought and been granted asylum. Like it was the whole process, start to finish, just highlights the complete erosion of the rule of law and how rule of law only applies to people when a state entity wants to leverage it against them.
Yes, that's exactly right. And of course, we know that there will most likely be some serious repercussions that the UK knows it may face if it does not comply with the United States wishes, which is really unfortunate, but that is a fact, and something that is cited often when we have these discussions. I spoke with a former attorney, Alexander Mercouris, about this, and he said, there's a trade deal that the UK definitely does not want to miss out on, which is really horrific when you think about it. This is someone's life here,